secure contested parts of the country. That's what's going on in Marja, in Helmand province right now. We expect that more troops carrying out a strategy designed to secure the population will reassure Afghans that they have the opportunity for a better future. And if you want in the Q&A, we can talk a little bit about the attitudes of the population that have been living in areas that have gone back and forth over these years between government and non-government control. Additional troops are also going to provide opportunities to partner with the Afghan Army and Police at the unit level so that those institutions can develop the skills that they need to take the lead in providing for Afghanistan's security. We recognize the challenge of building competent security forces. For many years, Afghanistan did not have a national army or police force recruited from all ethnic groups and regions of the country. Low literacy, high attrition, and a lack of resources and expertise pose continuing problems for the Afghan security forces. However, our forces include a number of skilled trainers who are drawing on the best lessons that they've learned from other conflicts, and they're using those to try and bring out the very best in their Afghan partners. And they're doing that now by example, by living, patrolling, and eating together with them. The part of the President's plan that has received much attention, however, has been his announcement that the U.S. troops will begin to come home from Afghanistan in July 2011. I'd like to make 2 points about this. First is that this is not a deadline to end U.S. military or other support for Afghanistan. Our troops will begin a gradual and responsible transition in 2011, taking into account conditions on the ground and Afghanistan's ability to handle its security requirements. The second is that we will maintain a security relationship on the basis of shared interests and values, just as we do with other nations. Even after our force levels begin to shrink, U.S. and other NATO ISAF troops will fight alongside Afghan forces until the Afghan National Security Forces are able to handle the security threats they face on their own. As President Obama said in his speech, we will continue to advise and assist Afghanistan's security forces to ensure that they can succeed over the long haul. While our military clears areas held by the Taliban, U.S. civilian agencies are also active partnering with the military and with the Afghan government to help bolster Afghanistan's security-related agencies. Our Drug Enforcement Administration is training Afghan counter-narcotics police. Our Federal Bureau of Investigation is assisting the Ministry of Interior to fight crime. Our Department of Homeland Security is working to strengthen the Afghan Border Police and Customs Department. The State Department is building up the capacity of the Afghan Central Prisons Directorate, whose prisons have been a breeding ground for insurgents. As part of assuming the sovereign responsibility for protecting its people, the Afghan government must also build the ministerial capacity to recruit, train, and sustain the army and police. We expect Afghan security forces and the Afghan government to begin assuming lead responsibility for defending their country. President Karzai has laid out a timetable for Afghan army and police to take over the lead responsibility within 5 years. Within that time period, we hope that in 3 years they will take over the lead in some of the key areas around the country. They will be leading those efforts. We may have advisors there or others there to help them, but they will be in the lead, and then for the entire country at the end of 5 years. We think this timetable is realistic and we're committed to supporting it. Thus, by the summer of 2011, we expect that this transition will be well enough advanced to allow U.S. troops to begin that redeployment. Now, security alone, as I said, is not enough. The second pillar of our strategy focuses on improving Afghanistan governance. The overarching goal is to encourage good government practices, and to help Afghans get corruption under control, so the citizens of the country can see the benefits of supporting the legitimate government, and so that the insurgency, on the other hand, will lose some of the support that it has, support that derives from the fact that they offer a model of governance that appears to work better in some parts of the country. The Afghan government has relatively weak credibility with its own people at this time. To strengthen that legitimacy, we are helping the Afghans improve key ministries at the national level. For example, by increasing the number of advisors we have there training Afghan civil servants, working with them so they learn better practices in running ministries and managing money, helping them to set up financial systems so that we and other donors will actually start getting more money through their ministries. Right now, you may not know this, but about 80% of the international assistance in Afghanistan does not go through Afghan institutions. It goes through NGOs, through development agencies of other countries. The goal is to get the Afghan institutions stronger so more money, an increasing amount of money, can go through those institutions in a way that you, I, our Congress, and others think that it's being tracked and it is being used well, but that then helps build the capacity of the Afghan government and the Afghan people see that their government is providing good services for them. In fact, if we can get this right, we will provide more and more money to such basic services as health, education, and agriculture. Afghanistan needs, as you can imagine, educated, trained, and honest civil servants to extend the reach of the government around the country. And so we are training current employees of the Afghan government in how to be better public administrators. We're helping them bring on new graduates and new administrators to join the government. We hope that by strengthening these ministries that deliver security in these essential services, we're going to help the Afghan government become more visible, more effective, and more accountable before their people. And help the people realize that the government, in fact, does offer them a lot more than the Taliban or other extremists will ever have to offer them. We're also working as part of this to combat corruption and to promote the rule of law. We're working to build new systems that reward accountable performance, that provide standards and transparency that, of the use not just of money, but of carrying out policy that help add credibility with both the international community and with the Afghan people. We're helping build law enforcement institutions also to fight crime and corruption. The FBI, DEA, and the State Department and our military are working with the Ministries of Interior and Counter-Narcotics and the Afghan National Director for Security to set up a new major crimes task force, which will be responsible for investigating major corruption, kidnapping, and organized crime cases in the country. This didn't exist before. Similarly, the Attorney General of Afghanistan recently established, with the support of the Departments of Justice and State, a special anti-corruption unit aimed at prosecuting misconduct by mid and high-level government officials. And the Supreme Court of Afghanistan is in the process of setting up a special anti-corruption tribunal to handle major corruption cases with the support from the U.S. Justice Department and Department of State. All of these institutions are new. They didn't exist before. Corruption wasn't being tackled in a systematic way in Afghanistan. But we're now working together with our Afghan partners to do that. In his inauguration speech of last November, President Karzai made clear his intention to redouble his efforts to have merit-based appointments in his cabinet and to implement a vigorous anti-corruption strategy that included expanding the powers of the existing High Office of Oversight, which has some key anti-corruption responsibilities. He made further commitments in the papers delivered and agreed in London. We are now working with his colleagues to turn these good words into results. we're looking for the appointment of